You're listening to a pre-recorded show.
You're listening to the Weekend Real Estate Report on 105.7 The Fan.
You do a great job here giving the audience quite a bit of information. For a lot of guys like me, I'm sure a lot of females have certainly have been enlightened and informed to help their life a little bit better. So keep up the good work.
Once again, Carl Delmont.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, listen, if you have contacts that fit better in the case than they do in your eyes, that's not good. But we have a solution that is great. It's our friends at Asthma Eye Care, right across the fairgrounds in Timonium. Over 40 years experience helping people see things more clearly, especially contact lens wearers. They also have a 98% success rate helping people who have macular degeneration and Stargardt's disease. So check that out. And if you're thinking of LASIK surgery, but the term surgery frightens you, well, don't worry, there's help. These guys have a non-surgical way to improve nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, and etc. Check them out. They can talk to you about all those great things. It's called Asthma Eye Care. You can find them at lowvisionmd.org. All right, as promised, we have three great guests coming in, and it's Tony, Erica, and Adriana. Is that correct?
Adriana, yes.
Adriana, sorry about that. They're joining us from Integrity Plus Network of Coldwell Banker. You've heard them. They've been on the show many times before. And we're going to just get a perspective because the market, it's changing. It's not 180 degrees by any means, but we are starting to see a change in a number of areas and a number of things. And I just thought it'd be good for our audience to get different perspectives. And I respect you guys a ton and what you're doing. Tony, I was driving to a soccer game the other day and saw your billboard, took a picture and texted it to you. So congrats on that. That looked great.
Thank you.
So listen, the market for a couple years, I mean, it was like you guys probably didn't get any sleep. There was a phone was ringing, the emails are blowing up, and people are like, I want to buy a house. I want to sell my house. Now, we still have people who want to buy, but the market's changing a little bit. It's still a seller's market, but it's not quite as, I guess, lopsided as it was once before. Or are you still seeing it that way?
I think there's pockets. There's definitely some areas that are cooling off. The last offer I wrote, we actually got the buyer closing help, which I haven't had that happen in probably 2 years. So it definitely depends on what area you're in. Overall, like you said, I think it's still a very strong seller's market. And, as long as they're pricing it right, they're not taking shortcuts on the marketing, they're still seeing multiple offers out there. But again, you're right. You can definitely feel a little bit of a shift with everything from the interest rates into inventory. It's slowing down a little bit, but overall it's still strong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing that. I mean, I'm still seeing some deals where the buyers are guaranteeing any kind of appraisal gap, waiving some things. But I'm also seeing some people are saying that, no, you know what? There was a cash offer and, we didn't offer a ton more, but we had no contingency and we were a little flexible with what the seller needed as far as some things on their end, and we got the deal. So I don't know if that's an anomaly or whatever's going on out there, but for this market right now, like for buyers, is the competition still as crazy as it was?
I believe, yes. The competition is still quite crazy, especially for first-time home buyers. I feel like so many times I show houses and there's still a lot of offers on the home. So my clients are just having a tough time finding like a small single family home. That's what everybody seems to want right now. And we don't have the inventory. And that's the problem in certain pockets of Maryland.
Yeah, so right now, are we seeing, I know that for a while when the pandemic came and we saw people who were, I guess, more working from home, moving out of the city, leaving the city and moving farther out because they wanted more quality of life, better schools, et cetera. Is that change? Are you starting to see more people wanting to come back in the city again, or people wanting to leave the county, or is it kind of half and half?
Yeah, I'd still say that's probably half and half. I mean, what I'm seeing right now is people buying houses, bigger houses for their families. Mom and dad are moving into the house as well. And I think I've seen as well where people have big properties and then they can put kind of a granny pad on the property for mom or something like that. I've been seeing that quite a bit lately.
That's so crazy you said that because the segment before you guys joined on, I talked about ADUs and how they're becoming more and more popular. So accessory dwelling units. And
yeah.
With your real estate attorney, your attorney, whatever, to check for zoning and municipality issues. And of course, if you're an HOA, I doubt you'll ever get it approved. But we're seeing more of this multi-generational trend where, you know, our parents are downsizing, selling their house, walking away with good equity. And,
Hmm.
you know, the conundrum is, where are they going to buy? And some of them, you know, if you can convert your garage, the space above your garage, maybe put a shed in the backyard, but turning into a true living space. Well, maybe they go get a, you know, rent an apartment or a condo in Florida for 6 months and then come back and stay with you. Or maybe they stay with the people, you know, and then help with the kids, the grandkids and everything else. So this is changing things. But I am hearing that there are the fear of missing out. There are some sellers who are like, wait a minute, the market's changed. I don't want to lose out. And now people are jumping in and selling. Are you seeing a little bit of a push in inventory?
Yeah, I am. Actually, I think that is becoming a concern as interest rates climb. You know, they're afraid that the market's either going to level out or dip, and they're pushing more. So I'm starting to see more inventory come on, and it's not a bad idea, right? Because there's no pot, like, we don't know for sure what the future is going to bring. So right now, we still know it's a pretty good seller's market. So if you're going to list, this would be the time.
That makes sense. Um, and then in that, we're still seeing enough buyers and everything out there. But if that seller lists with you, and they probably will get offers pretty quickly, what's your advice now to them as far as what is their exit strategy? Because now they're going to be just like it was in the past. You know, they went from being the most popular person to now they're one of 40 looking to buy the next house.
So I tell them that we definitely have to have a plan, because right now still, like, home sale contingencies are not getting accepted in most areas unless the house has been on. If you see a house been on for 20 days plus, now you can start seeing it closing hell, price dropping, things like that. But I actually just had this conversation yesterday with a client, and I told him, I said, you need to make alternate plans, because if we go out here and put an offer on a house and you have to put your house for sale, they're just not accepting them right now. It hasn't dropped that much, right? It's still a really heavy seller's market in most areas. So we have to have that plan for where they're going to go. If it's staying with somebody, a short-term rental, extended rent backs, so 30 to 45-day settlement, and then ask for maybe a 60-day rent back. So I'm still seeing a lot of the rent backs be given for free as well. So it's still a very strong seller's market, but there are pockets that are cooling where you're starting to see, like, the closing help and stuff.
Yeah, I just talked before you guys came on about a client that was working with one of our loan officers, and he called a realtor that we had recommended a couple of years ago to him, but didn't call us. They list a house, sells immediately. Then he calls, says, I need to buy a house. Well, his score was like 613. So the loan officer gave us some advice, told him some things to do, and within like 3 weeks was able to get the score up to, like, I think like 721, or I can't remember now, but above 700, which his score's never been that high. That alone saved him almost $400 a month in mortgage insurance compared to what the low rate would have done. But the moral of the story is, look, if you're going to sell and you think you want to buy again, you probably want to get pre-approved before you list your house, right?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I mean, that would be a big issue if we sold your house and then you went to buy and didn't have the credit score to buy, or because you had the lower interest rate or the lower credit score, your interest rate was higher and you couldn't afford what you thought you could buy. So definitely that's one of the first steps you want to do. And then you want to make sure you have nothing against you, because that might take some time to clear off. So I always think it's better to get in sooner than later when you're trying to get pre-approved, and then kind of take those steps to sell.
Yeah, and you guys both mentioned pockets as far as how things are working. And obviously, I talk to a lot of realtors. I hear things, I read things nationally, everything else. But I'd like your guys' opinion on what's going on locally. And one of those is what we're just talking about now. Someone sells, but they don't really know what they want to do. Do they want to get into this bidding war, or do they want to rent, or whatever? What are the trends you're seeing? Are more people who are selling? Are they A, moving out of state, B, renting, C, moving in with kids, D, buying again? I guess it's a combination of all, but where are you seeing the biggest, I guess, trend with some of those things?
I think buying again for the most part still, or staying with somebody, are the biggest two. Because if you rent, I heard recently, when you rent, it's basically 100% interest rate, right? Nothing goes towards principal. Where if you go to purchase right now, the interest rates have went up to maybe 5-6%. Actually just had one at 7. That's still a lot cheaper than, doing 100%. And short-term rentals are very expensive. So I'm not seeing that a lot. If they have somewhere to go, it's usually with friends or family or something like that, or they're setting up to do, like we said, with the extended settlement with the long rent back to purchase. What are you seeing, Erica?
It's interesting. I was just thinking about one of the clients that I have. They automatically lined up housing for themselves, because when we had written maybe the 8th contract on a house, they knew that they needed to find something temporary. And when they found something temporary, then they were also able to find a house that was less expensive for them. And now they have the time to completely redo the inside of the house. And so the whole thing has completely worked out for them because they weren't stressed that they had to find something right away. So with that rental, that's exactly what most buyers need to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, and again, it goes back, you mentioned, Tony, someone's paying 7%. If your scores are low, there's all these adjustments, and they've gotten a little bit worse from the agency. So it's not your lender, it's basically the government guaranteeing these loans that's making all these adjustments. So, I mean, if your score is low and you're not putting as much money down, not only going to pay higher mortgage insurance component, there's going to be all these adjustments, loan pricing adjustments to the rate. So your rate can quickly jump up from market to much, much higher. So some people think, well, I'm getting taken advantage of. Well, no, not really. It's the risk. If there are 5 people looking if you were going to lend money to 5 people, one of them's always pay people back, and one of them looks like they're not paying their current bills, you're probably going to charge more for the other one. And that's what the government's doing. They're pricing in the risk because they want to avoid what happened back in 2007, 2008, where, you fogged up a beer, you got approved, and people who probably should have been buying houses or fully understood what they were doing were just clogging the market up and then walking away when they thought that they were in a losing situation. Think about it now. If those people could have held on, even a loan modification, anything else, look where their house value would be right now. They went from being 20,000 negative, now they'd be about 200,000 positive. But I always say don't look at housing as an investment. Your primary residence, to what you said, Tony, you're living there, you're paying a normal rate, and if you're renting, that's a good way to look at it. You're paying 100% interest. The other thing, I'm hearing landlords who are charging like 3-month security deposit, 18-month, 24-month leases, and some landlords who are willing to break leases because there's so much demand. If they're going to get out of someone who locked in 2 years, 3 years ago, one of our loan officers, John Acton, his son was able to break a lease because he got a new job. They only charged him 1 month's rent. He broke the lease, but he said that they're getting like $400 a month more now for rent. So something to think about. We're talking with Tony and Erica. Tell people how to reach you guys if they're interested in buying, selling, just getting some advice.
Yeah, the easiest way is just go to our website, theintegrityplusnetwork.com.
Perfect. All right. I'll tell you what, we've got a lot of other things we want to talk about, including getting the perspective of a brand new agent with you guys and finding out, some of the things like, why'd you get into business? What are you thinking about it? Maybe even why you chose Tony and Erica. I know the answer to that one, but it'd be good to hear hers. All right, listen, if you're thinking about making a great statement, I'll tell you what, there's no better way than our friends at Flowers and Fancies. These guys have been doing this for 40 plus years. They are so good that every time Preakness comes to town, and they just did, right? Who did they choose? Out of all the florists in Maryland, they choose Flowers and Fancies year after year. These guys are so good at what they do. Listen, if you're having a wedding, you just want to send something to someone and tell them you're thinking about them. Maybe someone just had surgery. Maybe you made a mistake, whatever. They do such a great job. Their website's easy as well. And if you need help at a wedding, they have a whole service to help you out. They also do classes online and in person, just to get creative and everything else. Over 300 fresh flowers flown in daily, open 7 days a week, and Monday through Friday, if you get your order before 3 o'clock, same-day delivery in Baltimore and surrounding counties, and then delivery on Saturday and Sunday. Check them out at flowersandfancies.com. Give their social media pages a like and tell them you heard it here on the radio. They'll appreciate that. Quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear more from the great real estate team at Integrity Plus Network. Stay tuned.
The Weekend Real Estate Report will be right back on 105.7 The Fan.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show.
Now back to the Weekend Real Estate Report on 105.7 The Fan.
All right, we are back, and we've got a lot to discuss today. We're talking to 3 great realtors from the Integrity Plus Network, and we wanted to talk to Adriana, who is the newest agent there. And I'm going to put you on the spot, girl, and ask you a couple questions here. No tough ones, but just, honest ones. So you're a little bit new to the industry. What made you want to get into the real estate industry?
I've always enjoyed looking at houses, and I really like the fact that every day is different. And when I was weighing my options on what I could do after high school, I thought this would be a perfect fit.
Excellent. And, obviously you have to have a great mentor and a great team behind you. What made you choose Tony and Erica and the team in Integrity Plus Network?
Just seeing how they navigate the industry and how confident they are in everything that they do is very inspiring, and it's very securing to know that you have somebody behind your back.
So I have a friend who owns a real estate firm in Southern PA, and he has a realtor who joined him. He first joined him as a social media person right out of high school. So he was like 18 years old, and he knows this. We tease him all the time. He looked like he was 12. I think he's 19 now, and he looks like he's 12 and a half. But he's killing it. And one of the questions I asked him, I want to ask you the same thing. Do you feel that there's some inherent bias against, a realtor who looks really young because, someone in their 40s might think, well, what do you know about real estate? And it shouldn't be daunting, but I think unfortunately people just make first assumptions. What's your thought about that?
Yeah, that's funny. I'm actually 19 myself, and I definitely have experienced that. One time I was going to show a property to a new prospect, and they were like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Old enough."
Well, and that's the thing people don't understand is, when you're looking at as a realtor, it's funny. People, oh my God, the appraiser came in, and he was here for like literally 15 minutes, and they charged me $500. They don't understand all the work that goes back into it. It's like that old meme of the iceberg. People only see the tip; they don't see the massive thing underneath. That's all the other work and everything else. And your iceberg, you're the tip of it, but you have Tony, Erica, and all the other people there from Integrity Plus behind the scenes. So if you're showing a house, if there's a question that you can't answer or a situation you haven't experienced yet, people, if they're signing you to be the realtor, they're getting the whole team. So I think that's one of the things, the misconceptions people don't fully understand.
Yeah, totally. One thing that definitely helps us being a young person, being on a team, you can say that my team is a multi-million-dollar team, and you can use your team as your backup to make the client feel more secure with you.
Well, and I think, no disrespect to the elders in the room, including myself, but you're going to be a little more adept at social media, some of the trends, the hashtags, all the other things that, believe it or not, sometimes those things, if you do it correctly, may be the difference in getting the right prospective buyer to get to that property because you hit a certain keyword or hit a certain demographic. And the other thing is, people in the quote millennial range, historically, the average person buying a home is about 32 and a half years old. And that's holding true right now. And what's crazy is the millennials, when you look at that, it seems like such a negative term, but as a demographic, right now they're about 32, 33 years old. So people are expecting this to be a pretty good year as long as inventory survives. But because you're probably a lot closer to that demographic, they might be finding stuff you're talking about more frequently than they are someone my age, because they could care less about soccer, the things I post about, but you might have an advantage there. What do you think about that perspective?
Yeah, I've gotten a few people contacting me saying that they would like to buy a house just from like my TikTok and my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely do think it's a huge advantage to know how to navigate the internet, because that is the world that we're moving into now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's free and you can reach a ton of people. So, another strategy for you might be like doing TikToks for, your sellers, like, about the property or everything else. I think that, again, as the market's changing everything else, new ideas, new creativity, coupled with the experience of someone who's been doing this a long time, I honestly think that, Tony, Erica, and the other people do this a long time are going to learn some things from you, just as you'll be learning things from them. So for anyone listening, look, if someone shows up and you're like, oh my Lord, you're my kid's age, don't worry about it. They chose a career for a reason. Don't judge a book by its cover, judge a book by the ending. And I think if you hire Adriana and this team, you're going to be a very, very, you're going to love the ending of the story. So couple other things for you. You chose this group and everything else, and you've been doing this for a little bit of time. What made you choose a career where you were in charge of your income versus taking a job and knowing that you're going to get paid an hourly rate, maybe a bonus, everything else?
Watching my parents struggle with some of the things that happen in their job, not being appreciated and stuff like that, really just motivated me to have full control over my life, and how much I work is how much money I'll make. So that's what with real estate, you make what you put into it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think, almost like the appraiser story I mentioned, where they only saw him coming for 15 minutes. A lot of people think, oh my God, I'm going to sign a lease with or a contract with you, and you're going to sell my house in this market that's so easy, and you're going to make all this money. What they don't realize is the dues, the insurance, the gas, the mileage, the licensing, the paying for the signs, your annual dues, all the other things. There's a lot of money that goes into becoming a realtor. So I commend you for researching this and jumping in, because it's not an easy job, and there's a lot of upfront costs that you're going to pay out of pocket before you see dime one. But that being stated, I mean, you sound super confident. So what's your game plan here?
My game plan is to finish college. I am in college full time. So I'm hoping to finish that up within the next 2 years and then just go real estate full time. I just want that degree as a backup, but I really don't plan on using it.
Yeah, well, I think you chose correctly with Tony and Erica and their team. So, guys, let me flip the script here on you guys. She walks in and obviously just graduated high school, looks young. And what's your thoughts? You're like, yeah, we can work with this? Or like, were you intimidated at first? Or you have second thoughts? Or you're like, no, I like her attitude. We're going to make it work.
She's just incredible. You can tell by when you first meet someone, how much how much she loves to do real estate and she wants to be successful. And we can actually feed off of each other, because I just did my first TikTok yesterday, and it's because of, people on my team that are this age. So she's wonderful to have on the team.
I saw basically her work ethic. So I saw all her TikTok videos, and I kept seeing her at floor duty and willing to hold open houses and like just going and getting it every day. Yesterday, she finished up her negotiation classes with NAR, got her certification, and left there to meet me in Sykesville to do a listing appointment. Like, she's nonstop and goes. She works harder than half the agents on the team, to be honest with you. Like, she's at it all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the attributes, as I'm looking at this from the 30,000 foot view, is you have someone who's coming in with a lot of energy and a lot of ambition, but no preconceived ideas, versus someone who's twice her age, who's had a couple jobs and thinks they know. I've been around, I know what's going on, and then try to fight different things. Whereas someone coming right out of school, meeting you guys, choosing you for a reason, and knowing you guys are very good at what you do, they're going to follow your example. They're going to follow your leads, and it's not going to be like trying to reinvent the wheel. So I think this is great stuff. I mean, I'm excited to see your career take off. And if you need any help on the lending side, we got a whole team there willing to help you as well. So congratulations and all that. By the way, we give a complimentary free home warranty on all of our purchases. Hint, hint. So, hey, listen, what else were going on with trends and everything else? Obviously, Adriana's she hasn't been doing this long enough to really compare to, say, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. We were talking earlier about some of the trends. For you guys, are you seeing, like, using her as an example, are you seeing younger people get into this market? Are you seeing other people who, maybe the other end of the spectrum, maybe closer to retirement age, getting into becoming realtors? Or what's going on as far as your industry? Or some people surrendering their licenses?
I think we're seeing more younger. I've noticed more younger people getting in than older. And I think some of that's obviously technology driven, because our industry is very, you're right on the edge of technology. So you got to keep up with it, with all the different, everything from e-signing, to the internet. So I think they're just more comfortable with it. What about you?
Yeah, we have 2 agents on the team currently that are both in college. So I've definitely seen a much younger face to real estate, which when we got in the industry, I mean, there was barely, I was in my 20s. They called me a girl, because everybody was, as they call them, dinosaurs. They'd been in the industry forever.
Yeah, it was funny as I'm listening to us talk these 2 segments. You guys keep bringing up things I covered in my very first segment today. So I don't know if you were eavesdropping or what, but one of my segments was, ways to pay for college. Oh, Adriana just invented a great one. A job where you have some flexibility, but as she said, I mean, you can control your destiny as far as income and some other things there. And by being a part of a great team, if for some reason she's in the middle of finals and someone's like, hey, I got to go look at a house, well, maybe you guys can pick up and go do it for her or whatever. But this is another great way that, and Adriana, I'm not sure what you're going to major in, but if you're taking business classes or any other psychology, whatever, basic, general studies, this industry is really going to help you out. You're going to meet all kinds of people. You're going to experience all kinds of situations, and you're going to be working with people. You're going to see the psychology of it. You're going to see the finance side of it. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I think it's going to not only help your schoolwork, but it's going to help you when you graduate, and while you're still taking classes. I think it's going to help your career.
Yeah, that's one of the luxuries of being a student, is that eventually everyone is going to buy a house. So I'm kind of like building up my network of young people who are going to be ready to buy their first home in 5, 6, 10 years.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested in reaching out and saying, yeah, I like this kid's moxie, I'm gonna talk to her and get her to help me buy a house or show a house, how do they reach you?
They can follow me or DM me direct message me on Instagram or TikTok at the.Gen-Z Realtor. Or they could find me on the Integrity Plus Network website as well.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to see your career take off, and congratulations. Like I said, you definitely chose well. In the final minute or two, any just sage advice for our listeners from the two elders in the room?
Go ahead, Tony.
I would just say right now, don't take the market for granted if you're a buyer or a seller. If you're going to sell, like, we don't know what the future is bringing. You can see the interest rates going up. So if you're ready, let's get listed. Don't take any shortcuts. Do the staging, get the professional photos, put out a full marketing plan. You'll get the most for your money. And as a buyer, just get yourself set. Make sure you're pre-approved. Everything's in line, because you have to still move pretty fast in most markets right now. I mean, every once in a while, like I said, we're getting lucky where we got some cooling periods, but the more set up you are, the most likely then you'll get that offer accepted and hopefully not go through 9 or 10 offers.
Yeah, don't skip anything. Don't go to a discount broker. Get it. Interview agents who are actually going to be able to do all of the things that make your house ready to list.
Yep. Yeah, and you can go to HomeSnap to check out agent ratings and what they've sold.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you an idea of their history. So you're not dealing with somebody that if they're not on a team and to have backup, that they're coming out and really have no experience, because in this market you really do need to know how to put contracts together and negotiate.
Absolutely. We've had several where our buyer wasn't the highest offer, but the realtor does such a good job of talking to the selling agent about, hey, look, your client needs an extra month before their house is ready, or they're getting relocated. My client's willing to accommodate you, but here's the best they can do, and they got the deal. And it's, people think it's always the cash offer, the one with the highest offer, but choosing your lender wisely, out of state lenders, internet lenders, some of these big companies. Some seller agents are like, I'm not going through that hell again. I want to go with someone I trust. And so it's really, really important as a buyer or seller, make sure that you're looking at the right realtor, the right lender. And as a buyer, you're gonna look good just by association. So something to think about. If you need anything, you can always call us at Freedmont, FREEDMONT.com, celebrating 30 years in business this December. We never charge an application fee. And as I hinted earlier, it's true, we give a complimentary home warranty on all purchases. So if you need us, we have people on standby even today on Sunday, 800-955-8508 or Freedmont, FREEDMONT.com, and loss number 2893. Check out our social media too for some great third-party verified testimonials. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. Great information as always. And if you need anyone for help to buy or sell property or even rent, maybe you want to put a property up for rent, these guys can help you with that as well. Integrity Plus Network, Tony, Erica, and Adriana. All right, guys, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I appreciate you joining us today.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
The Weekend Real Estate Report will be right back on 105.7 The Fan.